Hello and welcome everybody to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2018. Broadcasting live from the ESL Arena in Katowice, Poland. We're currently on day 2 of the open bracket to figure out which players will be going on to the group stage. At the end of day 1, 32 players were whittled down to just 6, and we'll be doing the same today for a grand total of 12 players to qualify for the group stage. We've already seen some major upsets, like last year's Katowice grand finalists, Stats eliminated. And with so many amazing players remaining, there's bound to be even more drama, so don't miss any of it. This is the Intel Extreme Masters.
Welcome to the Hacks Pre-Show.
That's right indeed. Day number 2 here as we get things rolling for the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. Thank you very much, Smix, as we get things going. And it's going to be another day of open bracket, another day of sadness, and another day of triumph as these players are looking to vie for those 6 spots, as Smix previously mentioned. To my right-hand side on the analysis desk to get things going, we have Rotterdam, we have Todd, we have Maynard. Gentlemen, good day so far when we had yesterday. Coming into today, I'm hoping for some good games like we saw from like Maru, like Stats, and I'm hoping for maybe some surprises down the line. It was good yesterday.
James is hoping for good games, guys. So are we,
Full
James.
Korean.
So are we. No, it was a lot of fun yesterday. We really got spoiled, I think, early on, especially some of the PVTs. Not even all the games on the mainstream, but some of the games that we covered on the laptop as well. Yep. We were just losing our minds over here, and that's not stuff that normally happens on the first day of a tournament. It's really fun. I've seen the brackets, of course, for today. Right. I'm excited, man. A lot of really fun players today as well.
Well, actually, let's check in with our first bracket, of course. We've got quite a bit to go through here in our short time before we actually start some of our games. And we can take a look at bracket number 1 that we had yesterday. And again, it bears reminding that we do have that Maru versus Stats that went down, Maynard. That was a phenomenal game to set the tone for day 1.
That game 3 is going to live on in the hearts and minds of many Terrans and Protosses out there. Yeah. I don't know if it's going to change the meta too much, but you know, it was certainly extremely entertaining. And as we can see with the lower bracket there, nothing but Terrans coming out of that first bracket.
That's right, Todd, a bracket full of good Terran domination.
Yeah, and like we said, we lost some top players in there. Stats went out in that bracket, and then we lost also a recent world champion in Scarlet. So we keep saying it, those brackets are very stacked, but to lose such high caliber players and fan favorites this early on in the tournament is very unusual. So I wonder, like today, who is it going to be? Because some of these guys are going to bite the dust for sure.
Who's on the chopping board? Let's take a look at bracket number 2, of course, as we do have the Solar and Serral players advancing up towards the top there for the Zergs. This was a bracket of Zergs completely Rotterdam when we look at things. But Solar and Serral definitely earned their spots advancing through at the very beginning.
Yeah. This was also a very stacked bracket with a lot of, I would say upsets as well. We had a couple of guys making great runs that we didn't necessarily expect to make great runs. Scarlet had, of course, a very interesting story where she fell down to the loser bracket in the first round, then came all the way to the qualifying match and unfortunately fell in a very close final series of the day against True. Even those CVCs that we ended on, those were some inviting games.
Yeah, and CVC are not always the most of entertaining games.
Those were the first nils I ever bid during CVC.
I mean, to be fair, gentlemen, once the king of play-by-play comes back, you know,
maybe you were the one that got me on the edge.
On the desk, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair play. Yeah, of course he was. Okay, so let's take a look. Moving forwards, of course, we do have 2 brackets today, as we're going to have another 16 players going to be going into this situation. We only have a little spattering of Protoss, and before we get into things here, I should have a mention that we do have Billowy currently in this bracket. However, he is currently not here at location. So if he's able to make it here within the next 20 minutes, he will be able to play. However, if not, he will be disqualified.
Hopefully Warpgate is being researched so he can warp himself. Otherwise, I don't think he's making it.
Yeah, there's a sneaking suspicion he is still in South Korea. But anyway, other than that, what do you make of a bracket? Bracket number 3, boys.
I mean, there's already the glaring obvious thing there is we have an Intel Extreme Masters champion in Zest in that bracket there, and his form's a little bit under question at the moment. It's not quite not something you can really argue right now. But also the top 4 finisher for the world finals for BlizzCon. Special is in there. It's going to be incredible. Kelazhur as well. I'm really excited to see how that one runs out.
Yeah, that's a good thing that you bring up. Zest, obviously, you know, he comes back off the Intel Extreme Masters Pyeongchang, where he was defeated by a laser, a very big name, of course. But looking at this bracket, is it 100% certain that he goes through? I don't think it's 100%. What do you think, Rotterdam?
I don't think many things are 100% in the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice, and we already lost our runner-up from last year, yesterday. Yeah. But it's funny how it works, right? Because if you would have asked anybody a month and a half ago who's the best Protoss, I felt that almost everyone would have said Zest. We were all on the Zest hype train. We're like, Zest is back, you know, in the beginning of the year, just like he does in every off year or every whole year, you know, when it's not an uneven number. He's always dominating. 2016, 2014, 2018, things were looking great. But indeed, over the last month or so, especially his PvZ, I think his PvP is quite fine. I think his PvT is excellent. But his PvZ looked a little shaky. And it's not even just like one phase in the game, it's multiple phases of the game.
Right.
But looking at this bracket, are there really that many Zergs capable of defeating Zest in this bracket? Maybe Lambo if he has his absolute best day, or of course good old Snoot, but...
I think there's a few sleeper players here in this bracket that we're not necessarily counting on, you know, to do that well, but that definitely could surprise. Yeah, Lambo, definitely one of these guys.
Namshar for me as well, personally. I think Namshar's better and better.
Both no regret, and we got another Codet Zerg, no regrets here in this bracket. So
and the best coach in Starcraft 2 history as well.
Exactly.
Right, no regrets here, that's true.
Hero Marine is there.
Yeah.
He's always so easy to count out, but he quickly reminds us how well he can do in these tournaments.
And boys, I mean, I know someone upstairs is very excited. Ziggy's here, all right? Ziggy is in the building. Artosis, keep your pants on, man. Keep it going. It's okay, don't worry. But overall, I think that a very good bracket. Let's take a look at bracket number 4 as well, as we have a lot of great players to join us. And what do you think about this one? This is very stacked Korean-wise, I would say, looking at it.
I think Su has his work cut out for him.
Yeah, in the first round, or?
Spazi Mazi.
Losing to mechanics in round 2 is his work cut out for him?
No, this is a really fun bracket. All jokes aside, of course, Su comes in here as a big favorite. But this is not an easy one. I mean, especially at the bottom side, we've got Neep. I think a lot of people are very excited to see Neep in action. Neep had an okay performance at Leipzig, and that's perhaps even an understatement. I mean, come on, he made it to the semi-finals, and he lost in a close 3-2 series. But we kind of expect him to win every foreign event. So now all eyes are on Neep again. But I'm very excited for this one as well. A couple of other really fun, exciting players. The one that really stood out for me, I mean, of course, personally, I'm a little bit biased. I am happy to see Harstem here.
Of course.
And of course, we've got Sordov as well. Also a Zerg that can really show up and can really play exceptionally well.
The whole narrative of this bracket, like being 7 Koreans, Neep, Harstem, Sordov, TLO, and only 3 players make it out of these brackets. That's crazy to think about, that so many of these guys are going to be eliminated here in this very bracket. And it's going to be a great day of games once again.
And someone like Neep, Maynard, is a guy that we see a lot just go through, like, WCS circuit qualifiers and just get there, and he's already in group stages. So for him to have to kind of pull back the reins a little bit and turn up for the open tournament here and get put in a bracket like this, that's quite daunting.
It is a little, but honestly, I'm not afraid for that for Neem, for his mentality. He is a grinder. He can make this work happen. Like, he has it within him to do this. Also, I think if we're still waiting for Protosses to be in the group stages, this will be the bracket where they come through. Because there is, you know, we didn't even mention Trap, who was in the grand finals at one point for the Intel Extreme Masters World Champions. Like, Trap is incredible at the moment in GSL. Neeb, of course, incredible in WCS. I'm expecting one of those guys to come through.
Even Hurricane and Patience. Like, you can't really sleep on these guys. Also, Patience plays TLO round 1. I hear TLO has been having some trouble against Protoss.
Patience is no Roddy though. So.
No, indeed. the phenom that is Rotterdam.
No, I don't use Phoenixes.
I'm very happy actually that you mentioned Trap, Maynard, because I think that Trap is also one of these players that comes in here. We're not talking about him too much, but he's been playing very well lately. He's been getting a lot of love online, and he really deserves it. And then of course there's Hurricane, somebody that actually stays with the foreigners in Korea, spends a lot of time in the house that No Regret has set up. So I think that's quite exciting to see how Hurricane plays, because he's sort of like an adopted Korean to us right now. You know, like, if you live with us, then you're one of us at this point. So it's going to be so fun. This bracket is super cool. I'm very excited about it.
Definitely is. We're about to get into bracket number 3, in fact, as well. And we will keep you up to date with everything that's going on our 3 laptops as the results are coming in. And we'll try and give you some highlights as well. I was going to ask you, gentlemen, about our first game, RiSky going up against Kelazhur, but I'm getting word it's already ready. We are good to go. So we're going to jump on in here to our
just doesn't matter what we have to say, James?
Absolutely not. Let's go over to Tastosis for our first game of the day.
That's right. We are already ready, and it does not matter what the desk has to say anymore. No. As we are going to jump into this match, the first match of the day. It's good to be back with you, Artosis.
Yeah, it's about time. I didn't get to cast any with you yesterday.
I know. I missed you.
But this is comfortable now. I had a lot of sleep last night. I'm ready.
Yeah. Same here. I feel like I've adjusted a lot. Getting over most of the jet lag. You know, this is a marathon tournament for the players, for the casters, for the production staff. But this is why I love it, because everybody's here duking it out, and by the very end, even though we start out with so many players, we end up with just one. And both these players, I would say this is a little bit of a David versus Goliath match, but I think it's going to be a fantastic game no matter what.
I am hoping so. We'll see if RiSky can live up to the hype of Rotterdam here. A lot of respect for the young British Zerg, but Kelazhur becoming a monster within the non-Korean scene.
I don't even think this is his final form, Artosis.
It is not. He's still leveling up.
Someone we've got to know quite well, as he has been residing in Korea, training in the non-Korean team house. I guess there's a few Koreans in there now.
Yeah.
But in No Regrets team house. And I certainly believe it's going to pay off here today. Introducing our first player.
You hold on, Tasteless.
I know.
Getting
Hold
ahead
the
of
phone,
yourself.
Tasteless.
Oh, look at that furrowed brow right
there. I know.
It's like, my sound isn't working.
I need to move my keyboard an inch to the left. So, Kelazhur requested a pause. We'll be notified when the game can resume. Obviously, any pauses
that the game resumed.
You can have, you want to get out of the way.
It's a handsome keyboard.
Right at the start. Yeah, that is it's quite a ballin' keyboard, I'd say.
Yellow keys are they're good looking.
They are. Okay. This is intro attempt number 2.
All right.
In the upper left, in the blue, he is Kelazhur.
Camera hits him in the face, gives him a bloody nose.
And in the bottom right, in the red, he is RiSky. All right.
A little bit more careful there.
I feel like we could zoom the camera in so fast we'd go in through the eye into their mind and then see the builds coming.
Oh, yeah.
And forming, neurons connecting.
It's like that old Nesty video where you see the universe and
That's
like
right.
you back out until it's his eye or whatever. Oh, man. Well, I mean, this matchup, we'll see how it goes. RiSky, you know, he's a high MMR ladder player. You know, pretty well known within the European scene, right? Like he's good enough that he's hitting these top end players quite often. Pretty well known within the Reddit comment section as well. We'll see if he can live up to kind of the hype around him, the beginning hype, I guess, as he becomes a higher level Zerg player. But Kelazhur is, you know, he had that breakout year last year, of course. He is continuing to train hard, and you know, I feel like 2018, 2019, this is where we're going to see Kelazhur maybe become, you know, one of these just consistently top of the world Terrans.
I totally agree. You know, Kelazhur is a player who's really put the hours in, and he's had some really great on-stage performances. He's also had some moments that have been bumpy, but I think that's the natural progression of somebody who's becoming a great player.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that, you know, don't get to compete in any games of any sort don't appreciate the fact that you don't just start out being good. You have to put, oh, that was sick.
Yeah.
Good save there. You don't just start out being good. You have to actually take a long journey through many tournaments, many games, in order to come out you know, as a player that can dominate on the global scale.
It takes thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. You're so right about that, right? It's you know, there's definitely games that you can pick up and you start playing. You know, it feels like you're a good player or whatever. Maybe you are the best in your town at Mario Brothers or whatever. But I mean, Starcraft is not one of these games.
Or if you were definitely the best in your town at GoldenEye, you're like, we might be the best in the world. There's no way to find out. You can't get a Nintendo 64 online.
Well, there's definitely a way to find out about Starcraft.
Yeah.
It's called logging on the ladder.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good Reaper. The fact that he delayed this hatchery that long,
4 kills
forced 3 canceled buildings and killed 4 Zerglings, That's really quality right there. He's done a lot already.
Going on into this game, RiSky's going to have to try to get a little bit more momentum here. Already 2 Hellions actually coming in along with that Reaper. We're going to definitely get some more drone kills. 4 already. Both Reapers still alive and a possible additional volley. Now 6 drones down, barreling into the main. Already so much damage here for RiSky.
A huge amount of damage indeed. Look at that. Even uses a grenade to slow down the incoming queens. This damage is actually too much already. 9 drones after killing 4 lings. 11 drones? Are you kidding me?
We're now seeing another Hellion. 2 more actually down here at the bottom. Not a single Hellion has been killed yet. The amount of damage, if there's just a few more shots that get off here, it's going to be insane.
God. Yeah, is that 1 Hellion left? Okay, it
Good
gets
save.
cleaned up, but look, 4 Hellions and a Reaper getting 16 drones, 4 lings. It's too much damage, to be perfectly honest. This is like, Kelazhur is at a great advantage right now. Look at that, 33 workers to 24. He's taking his 3rd base. He's getting Banshees with Cloak. It's like he can't die, too. Not only did he do a bunch of damage, but there's nothing RiSky can do about it.
Yeah, well, kudos to Kelazhur for having just like perfect control back there. I was so sure that one of those 2 initial Hellions was going to get picked off. You know, the Reaper a lot of times dies immediately in those rushes because it is such a brittle unit. But you look at Kelazhur's control, he managed to get so many additional shots off to the point where that stacked up to so many drones. RiSky's playing catch-up, and I just don't know if that's going to be something he can pull off. And now we're seeing double armory go down in Kelazhur's main.
Yeah, it's going to be going into mech play after some Hellion and Banshee harassment coming up here. And it's tough, man, because you can imagine that Kelazhur has 2 different routes that he can go down, right? He can either make kind of a battle mech composition here, have a lot of Hellions, have some Cyclones go out, do an early attack, or he can get into the late game. Either way, that's hard for RiSky to deal with because he doesn't have any options to mix it up and, you know, maybe bust down the first mech army, then bring it long. It's going to be very tough for him to muster enough units to take care of this.
Okay, we have a transmute saving that Queen. Queen's now being microed closer to the Spore. Kelazhur is trying to move this Banshee over to a location where it can ideally start to gun down some workers. We're seeing the beginnings of that now.
Put some damage onto that Banshee, but it does fly out of the detection zone there. Continuing to do damage. Look at this, a lot of Hellbats being morphed, and with only Speedlings and a handful of Queens, oh, this is going to be a tough one. He's going to have to really micro here.
Yeah, the Queens are going to be used very effectively, but the Banshees can still take some pot shots on the exterior of this fight down here. And now with these Hellbats wedged between the minerals and the hatchery, I don't really see an option for the Lings to actually tear this apart. Well, hold on, they're being spread out a little bit here. Yeah, but still, I mean, this is just so much damage.
He's surrounding some of the Hellbats. You know, they're taking some damage. There's no medevacs to heal him. He's lost a ton of Queens, a couple drones, more going to go down, a lot of Lings going down as well.
I think we're seeing RiSky really process the situation in our camp down here at the bottom, and he's identified there is no way he can come back. GG. Kelazhur, at least from game 1, what we've seen here, on a completely different level.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's tough. You know, obviously RiSky has been to a few lands here and there. He tries to play tournaments when he can, but Kelazhur plays in everything. Like, he is all over the place, flying around the world. He has that experience, and you see it showing through here. A great first game of the day for him.
Before we go into game number 2, let's check in with the boys at the desk and see how the rest of the tournament is going. All right, things starting fast and furious here for the tournament, day number 2. We can check in with some of the games that are going on so far. So, Rotterdam, you do have Hero Marine versus Light, correct?
Yep. Oh, we just missed a big disruptor shot. So let's go ahead and hop into my replay real quick because things are heating up. The boys are being pulled. A forward blink coming all the way from here. And he's actually going to be able to push this back. Not bad at all here by Light. He lost a couple of gateways. The fact that Light hold this, now of course a little bit of background information, guys. Hero Marine, of course, a German Terran player, Light, a Romanian Protoss player. Hero Marine a big favorite in this series, and it started off, if you guys remember, Neep versus Hero Marine on Backwater, WCS Leipzig, that proxy starport with the Hellions, where Hero Marine did so much damage, and he should have never lost that game against Neep. He did it again this game, and he killed 21 probes after 5 minutes in this game. So Hero Marine's still in a good position, but that hold that Light just showed us was pretty good.
All right, let's check in with laptop number 2 as well. Todd, you currently have Zest versus Daishi.
Yes, I do. And Zest, he played a very heavy Phoenix style into charge lots with a lot of them in a quick third. And I feel like Daishi, every tournament is the same story. He gets the top Protoss round 1 and it doesn't go very well for him. And it seems like it's going no different here, where like we're at this stage in the game where I feel like you can just look down there at these numbers and Zest might be able to finish him off in a minute.
And it looks like Hero Marine just won our first game here as well on Rotterdam's laptop. Thank you very much, Todd, for an update there. Let's check in with Maynard as well. We do have Ziggy going up against Snoot. What's going on over there, Maynard?
Ziggy's actually going for what's affectionately referred to by a lot as battle mech here. So he had a really fast +1 just on single armory, going into mass cyclones here against Roach Ravager. And the army supplies is quite close, which is usually good for the guy that has a lot of mech units. A lot of Ravagers here for Snoot, and Ziggy's trying to make this push happen, avoiding the Biles and actually doing tons of damage to Snoot here. Oh man, he's actually in a bit of trouble.
I love it. You just started casting like on your stream.
Oh, man.
He needs to win the game pretty much though with this.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah.
Killing this hatchery is just a start.
Yeah.
You know, you have to absolutely kill him with this push. There is not really a follow-up here for Ziggy. He's just on 2 bases, no third on location or anything like that. So it is still looking quite dire for Snoot though. As the hatchery goes down, drones being pulled off.
Where is Artosis? The Artosis and Ziggy show. He's so proud right now upstairs. Artosis is jumping up and down.
So this guy's happy, and this guy he's not so happy.
No, there you go.
Great use of this Telestrator.
Yeah, we're really getting better at this as well.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. Actually,
That first one barely looked like a face, but there you go. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the updates here as we continue to keep you up to date with everything that is going on throughout the day. It's time now to head back to our commentators as we're going to be getting into game number 2 here of our mainstream series.
Oh, Ziggy, my man! Bashing Snoot as we see. I can't wait to be done this series. Go down there, hop on that laptop. I'm taking that laptop over, Tasteless.
The Artosis Ziggy Show Season 2.
Ziggy and I have been waiting an entire year.
And Artie, he's
to
beating
join
them
forces
with mech.
with mech, Tasteless.
Strongest unit composition in the game. All right, we're going to go into game number 2. Kelazhur versus RiSky. RiSky had a very, very bumpy game 1. Kelazhur, basically from the very first Reaper, manhandling RiSky. And with, 2 follow-up pushes. In fact, I guess the second one wasn't even really a push. It was more of just trying to go in there and kill drones. Killed way too many drones. Crushed through. Let's see if this game is going to be any different. In the bottom left, in the blue, he is Kelazhur. And his opponent here in the upper right, in the red, he is RiSky. Ready? Oh, there it is.
Wow.
I've got all these.
You're the IEM sound guy.
I know all the IEM soundtracks by heart.
I think most StarCraft fans do at this point.
I've got them on vinyl.
Yeah. We won't back down from the fight.
So, going into this game, I'm more interested in seeing how RiSky is able to just respond to the first few engages from Kelazhur. One thing about Kelazhur is, even though, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, I don't think he's in his final form. I think he's going to continue to improve.
Yeah.
Kelazhur is leagues ahead of so many pro gamers.
Yeah.
And I think he is completely and totally comfortable. RiSky, I think this is it's a big tournament for everybody, but I think for him, he would most certainly be much less in his comfort zone than somebody like Kelazhur.
Yeah, well, Kelazhur definitely has, that experience. So, pull first here from RiSky. see what he wants to do with that. Sometimes you do a little run around with the Lings, and as the Reaper leaves, you go up and delay the command center slightly. We'll see if these Lings take the long way around, try to avoid that Reaper and punish the SCV building the command center on low ground. A lot of times you go reactor immediately after this instead of a Marine.
And we're seeing that right now, and that's one of the things that Lings can really punish is your main base is undefended as that Reaper goes across the map to try to get a read on what the Zerg's doing, and as Terran only finds out what the Zerg's doing when those Lings get inside your base.
Well, the Lings turned around to hit the SCV once and are just kind of scouting, so maybe he thought that Kelazhur might get a little bit aggressive this game. It seems to be the case, but Kelazhur just playing pretty standard. Kelazhur definitely known for mixing in some cheeses here and there, but mixing in heavy aggression. I would call him an aggressive player, generally speaking, but not really needing it here, right? I think he feels like he should be able to beat RiSky with just normal, more conservative play, and I think he's probably right about that. But we see him blocking the normal third base location.
Yeah.
Of course, forcing RiSky into this third right here.
And this third is, in many ways, there are approaches Terran can take to try to do some damage over here. And then that's really why that's so important. It's not so much is the third base slower in this case, it's where is the third base going to be. And by Kelazhur forcing the hatchery to be elsewhere, he's really punished.
Well, attacking downhill is a powerful move, right? You have that ramp right there feeding down into it, whereas the other third, it is on the higher plateau, right? So there's chokes that you can go through to attack, but at least it's not like you're fighting up ground, and that's definitely an important thing. That's why people take that third base generally.
That's right. So we have the Viking about to come out. There are the two Hellions. They're headed northbound. We'll see if these actually do a lot of damage. I would imagine RiSky's defense should be overall a little bit better, especially with where the Queens are, to try to push the creep. But there's always a chance of the runaround. That's why these Lings are held on the high ground to try to block that in case they try to go up too far. And so RiSky with, I would say, pretty standard defense does deflect this from doing any real damage to the drones in the main, unlike game number 1.
He's playing this very carefully, zoning with those 3 Queens quite well, to be sure. And he's gone for a pretty early Roach Horn as well, so he's not really going to be afraid of things like, for instance, that Hellbat push. If you have a Roach Horn, you're going to hold that off very, very easily.
In this case, we do have the Banshee coming out now with Cloak. And it looks like the Ling's going to be able to come up here and actually get a very good idea of what's going on, especially with that Banshee coming out right now. So let's see how RiSky responds to this part.
Well, he continues to make Queens. He's getting some spores up. Everything is looking quite good. Like, this is such a better start that it really can't be overemphasized. He was kind of dead after the first Hellion run-in from Kelazhur previously. But Kelazhur is doing basically the exact same build, but he hasn't done damage yet. Oh, that was handsome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Shot at his own unit. Yeah. Rid of this.
Reaper barely living.
Yeah. He's like, I know this exactly.
Yeah. I'd try that and kill my Zealot with my Colossus.
And then you'd leave the game without saying GG.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my build.
Yeah.
But yeah, double Evo on the way here. Of course, the double Armory coming up. We'll see. Is he going to do that Hellbat attack? There's a good amount of Queens out right now, but I don't think he's actually made Roaches yet. So might have to hold this with just the Queens and a few Lings. Yeah.
Okay, Queens.
19 Lings, 7 Queens. That's very holdable with that.
Nice work here with the Banshee, just getting in between this ramp area and the access location for the third. I got to say, it seems like Kelazhur responding a little bit late. A lot of these Hellions are going to be taken down here. And RiSky, this is the polar opposite of the game that we saw from him in game number 1. He has really pulled it together. Yeah,
he's just playing such a more careful game at the moment. But Kelazhur is still finding quite a bit of damage, to be honest. He's killed a good 6 drones with this Cloaked Banshee harassment. Continuing to fly around, see what he can get done. And it's not like he's overcommitted anywhere, right? Like, yeah, he lost a few extra Hellions, those Queens up there, but Kelazhur is in no place to take any damage himself really quite yet.
Okay, the Banshees are flying back now. And I have to say, we will finally get to see RiSky in more of a late game scenario here. The Hellbats moving out just slightly. The third base for Kelazhur is being taken, and we are now also seeing the 4th base here for RiSky. So we're getting into a later part of the game. Now, it should be noted that Kelazhur is meching in this game, and he's actually starting to bank up a good amount of tanks and Thors as well. So there will be a push a little bit later on. Generally, the Terran needs to have a pretty high supply to push out, especially when you see tanks involved. It's not always the case, but if tanks are going to be in play, then you want to wait until you have a lot of muscle on the map. Whereas if you're going, for instance, like Cyclones and Hellions and things like that, that's like, I believe Maynard was referring to it as battle mech, and I like that name for it because it's really more of a mech that you want to try to get in a fight with. Yes. Where the mech style that we're seeing Kelazhur bring us to is more of a push that you want to crush through them and slowly get to the end of basically their starting location and win the game.
He's playing a macro-focused approach here, right? He's getting double Thor with double medevac here, so we're definitely going to see some Thor harassment come out. The Hive is coming up really quickly, and here's a Hydra extend as well. So Hydra is definitely a good way to deal with these Thor drops. But, you know, getting the Hive with this type of speed, the fact that he's been on double Evo for this long already, to be honest, I look at this, and I mean, I am a gigantic mech fan, and I like the strategy that's being brought out by Kelazhur, but I actually quite like RiSky's position. If you look at everything that he has, the upgrades, the speed of Hive, how he's taking no damage, his creep spread, RiSky's playing a fantastic game right now.
He really is. And I think he's going to be very comfortable getting into this later part of the game. Now, Kelazhur has a lot of experience in situations like this. So even though RiSky may have all the pieces set up correctly so where he can bring us a solid late game, will he have that execution when it actually comes to that moment? By the way, the Thor drop is actually headed, I believe, right towards the main here. Yeah. Spotted by those Overlords. Let's see how much damage he can actually pull off.
Well, it's going to be a lot. It looks like there's no units up there right now. The rest of Kelazhur's harassment force heading up towards this fourth base. Cloak Banshee's kind of going in. Look at that, already 5 drones falling. It's hard to deal with this double Thor drop. Like, you need to be able to pressure the medevacs back and be able to battle the Thors. So see, like, here the Roaches, yeah, he can make the Thors lift off, but he's not going to kill anything.
Right. Even taking out one extractor there, almost a second one picked off as well. And the Banshees actually killed 10 drones, which is pretty huge, too. Kelazhur taking a 4th behind this, and the Thor drops are not slowing down. And, you know, it's similar to what Zerg said. Hold up. This is a really good angle for these Hellions to try to kill more of these drones. 17 now down. But these Thor drops, it's similar in some ways to those Archon drops we see Zergs have to deal with as well, where obviously these don't have shields, so they're not going to regen, but the idea is that the Thor is so beefy, you're pretty much guaranteed to save it.
Yeah.
And because of that, you're just getting free kills on the Zerg, and it's a very, very intelligent approach to the game because you're making Zerg really work to just keep all of his units alive.
No, I definitely agree with you on that, but the Thor drops are almost over. There's Hydras out and there's Vipers out, and that's going to be a very easy way to deal with that. You have ducked one time and it's gone, right? And these are expensive units. You definitely don't want to lose them right now. He's continuing to put on the pressure, though, as he kind of pokes the front with his other units, continues to drop these Thors, and I mean, he's doing pretty well, but it's time for RiSky to truly deal with this.
Yeah, and if RiSky can deal with this, RiSky has the option to counterattack. But as long as these medevacs are flying around, it creates a pin on the Zerg where if the Zerg tries to leave, the Thors just come back in and start to drop, keeping Zerg in jeopardy.
And kind of interesting, the parasitic bomb going down on a Viking there. Almost surprised that that's where the Viper was. I feel like it would have been much more useful to abduct some of these medevacs with the Thors, right? But RiSky going for a pause. Look, I really love how the position RiSky got himself into, but once the Thor drops came out, along with the multi-pronged harassment of Hellion, Banshee, and, of course, the Thors previously mentioned, Kelazhur, he's started to pick up some damage. It feels like RiSky is maybe a bit flustered. Not panicking, but a bit flustered. He's running his units all around. He's not really dealing with the Thors correctly. We just saw him lose his one Viper. He really rushed to Hive, too, to get Viper. And we've seen one, and it really hasn't done anything yet. So I'm a bit nervous for him as Kelazhur is moving out his tanks. Like, you're going to need a lot of Vipers to deal with that.
You know, it's a stressful thing when you get this deep into a game. I think especially for a player like RiSky. You had a solid opening in Game 2. You got crushed in Game 1, but you had a solid opening in Game 2. Now we're getting to the super late game, and it's hard to keep it together. We don't know what the reasons behind the pause were. Probably something technical. So it's getting, I've just been informed that whatever the technical issue is, it's getting fixed right now. So we'll be back in this game shortly. But we will have to see if RiSky can really deal with these drops and then try to prevent Kelazhur from getting any bigger. Because we're at the point where Kelazhur has enough supply and enough mech units. It's hard for Zerg to engage that.
Yeah, the amount of tanks he has is moving across the map right now. Like, he's getting ready to be in position, maybe to push that 4th base. That's normally the 3rd, but of course was eBay blocked this game.
Right.
And we saw, the only Viper that I've seen this game just got picked off. So it's like, the thing is, there's a lot of different ways you can try to play versus mech, right? You have to be ready for that first push. And definitely some of the ways that you can see this would be like, some people go Swarm Host, some people try to rush up into something like a Broodlord to stop the first Siege Tank. Some people like to use Mass Viper.
Right.
But you have to be ready when they hit their first very big push. That's the most important push with Terran mech. If you're going for like a Siege Tank-based mech, that first push it's deadly. And the Zerg player really needs to put a lot of resources in to stop that. And if it's only a Hydra Roach, it becomes a little bit difficult to do that.
And in a general sense, for the players who are a little bit newer, the reason why mech is so strong is that when you have these siege tanks firing these volleys, they hit the army before the other army gets to attack. So you have to have some kind of technical approach to play around that. So that's the big issue. And like you were saying, having big tech, like let's say Broodlords or Vipers, that's one way to play around that. Also, when that push starts to come from Terran, assuming that Terran decides to do that push, Zerg a lot of times either needs to counterattack or try to hit them when the siege tanks aren't actually all up, when the mech army's not really in a good position.
All right. Hopefully they have this fixed up pretty quickly here. Yep, looks like we are getting back into the game.
Yay. Okay. So we will be hopping back into this match. And it looks like all is well. Kelazhur, by the way, ahead in supply is... Also, he still has these medevacs, so we can still drop and try to force RiSky into a bad spot. But it looks like Kelazhur's push is finally coming.
Yeah, okay, so we'll see what he has to really deal with this. Just a handful of Vikings here. The Banshees there adding a lot of DPS to this army. Quite a few siege tanks. Okay, he clears up the Thors finally, but he needs to get over here and defend this base.
Okay, he's pushing up. Siege tanks are in siege mode. The Roaches and Hydras are going to try to come from behind. However, I don't know if this angle is really favorable. It looks like this hatchery will go down before RiSky could try to set up his attack.
You know what? This was a hard choice to make, but I like that RiSky made this choice to give up this base, because if you throw your army away and lose this base, the game's going to be over. Okay, RiSky, a little bit of an overcommittal as those Banshees are poking. He's trying to lure these Hydras and Roaches into the siege tanks, but with the Vipers that just popped out, I think he's just charging them up, trying to get them ready to actually knock out this army.
As this game goes on, there is an additional expansion just south of here. It's completely isolated from the rest of the game, and also Kelazhur did spot that, so this is problematic. It seems like RiSky's actually hemorrhaging too many units. The Viper's coming in, but I don't know if there's enough overall ground forces here. There is not, and Kelazhur wins. GG, a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, we definitely saw some improvement from game 1 to game 2. RiSky's early game was so much better. He got himself set up quite well, but when that multi-pronged harassment came in, he couldn't keep it together, and that's something that's hard. And it might even be something that RiSky is much better against. He's sitting at home on his computer practicing on the ladder, but when you come here, it's your first game. You're in a big, a huge tournament that's live against such a veteran like Kelazhur. It can be tough to hold on.
Yeah, it really, really can be. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back and interview with our victor.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice 2018. We just saw our first match from Bracket 3, and Kelazhur had a pretty convincing 2-0 over RiSky. So, Kelazhur, the last time we saw you was at the Intel Extreme Masters Pyeongchang. What have you been up to since then, and how have you been?
I was a little bit disappointed in myself and my series against SOS in Pyeongchang, so I made sure I worked extra hard when I came back. So I've just been practicing, reviewing my mistakes and trying to develop a new game plan since then.
So then coming into this event, how do you feel about your overall condition right now? Because a lot of players have been talking about the fact that this event is particularly difficult with how stacked it is. So what are your thoughts on that?
I was actually really shocked when I saw the player list for this. I was actually even considering not coming because of how stacked it was, but I really wanted to come for the WCS points, and also I felt like I didn't get to showcase my TVZ in Pyeongchang, and right now I got the perfect bracket for it, so let's see how far my TVZ can take me.
Well, speaking of brackets, I saw you talking to Special earlier, and Special was making it quite clear that he thought your bracket was better than his, but do you think he has a valid point, or do you think your bracket is also difficult?
I mean, he has a lot of Koreans on his side of the bracket, so I can understand his point of view, but I think people are too quick to underestimate people like Snoot or Hero Marine, which is who I'll have to play probably to qualify. And also I have Namshar in the next round, so it's not going to be easy even if I don't have any Koreans in my bracket.
Well, then last question. You just mentioned Namshar. He's had some impressive results at WCSs in the past. As an opponent, are you confident in your TVZ right now? Or how do you think that will go?
Well, I'm always confident in myself, but I respect him as a player. He's very strong. He's gotten top 4 in many EU challengers before, so he's not someone that you can underestimate so easily.
All right, well, thank you very much, Diego. Best of luck in your next match against Namshar. Kalaris, back to you.
Thank you very much, Smix, and of course Kelazhur with a 2-0 victory. A lot of tanks in that last game there, and who better to bring it to us than the World of Tanks experts themselves from years gone by, Tasteless and Artosis. Subsequently, though, that career path waned, and we welcome them back with open arms. Welcome back to the stage here as we get things going. We're going to check in with some of the games that actually went down here. So, Marine versus Light, Rotterdam. What actually was going on in that game? You can show some highlights, I think.
Yeah, we saw game number 1. Once again, game number 1, he proxied the starport, so he just made 4 Hellions at home. He drove the Hellions towards the starport, and then he dropped 4 Hellions into the main base. And if your units are all in the natural, you're going to lose 21 probes. And if you lose 21 probes, I mean, it's blackjack. You just leave. Like, it's really not good. So game number 2 started off a little bit slower. Hero Marine did get a couple of probe kills early on, but just 5 or so, and he lost the medevac and the mines. It wasn't that bad. And then it all basically came down to this big attack. Light blinked forward here, but I really don't think that this is like the type of army that you want to engage into, like tanks and Marines and Marauders. And during all of this, Hero Marine wouldn't be Hero Marine if he didn't send a Liberator towards the main base. So he's kind of distracting Light. Light is like, okay, there's no way I should fight and at the same time lose workers. Yeah. This allowed Hero Marine to push further, a little farther forward, and I think the army composition is just not good enough for our Romanian Protoss. He's very Stalker heavy, but Hero Marine has a lot of tanks, mines and Marauders, and that's just not a fight you can win. We can take a look at the final fight here, but I mean, this is a beautiful setup for Hero Marine, and this little thing right here doesn't look very impressive to me. So we can fast forward a little bit.
Is that what they say?
Yep. I've heard that one before, James. And it still hurts just as much as these Stalkers are in pain against all these Marauders.
It's how you use it, Roddy.
That's right, that's right.
You didn't use it well enough.
No, I blink like that as well, Todd. So Hero Marine takes the series 2-0.
Thank you very much, Rotterdam. Let's check in now, of course, with Todd, who did have Zest versus Daishi. I think that series concluded.
Absolutely, yeah. We almost saw the end of game 1, where Zest was just in a great spot. He kind of finished Daishi off shortly after we hopped out of that game.
Yeah.
And in game 2, Daishi tried to proxy 2 barracks. Apparently, all you need to do in TVP is either play like Maru or Soul. So he picked option number 2. He went for the same proxy that we saw Soul use yesterday. We can hop into game here, and I'll show you guys. So it was an easy defense from Zest, who didn't wall off outside of his main base, but he did something a little bit unconventional. He proxy Void Raid across the map. You ever heard of that movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Yes.
Zest had his own reboot, and he called it the Void Ray Massacre on Neon Violet Square. And apparently, it goes pretty well if you can siege a factory like this. And basically, you force engagements from the Terran here in that area. And every time he tries to bring you here to this side, you basically pull back. regenerate those hit points, let the shields come back from the shield batteries, and then re-engage. And he just kept on doing that non-stop,
Yeah.
up until when the point when Daishi broke. I'm just going to fast forward it so you guys can see the actual massacre that took place here. Like, that one turret couldn't help either because he just kind of jumped in there and killed everything. So Zest with a solid win.
I love watching games like that. They're crazy. They're all over the place, and Zest able to take that.
What I like is that Daishi tweeted after the series, wanted to cheese, got cheesed. FML.
I like it a lot. Let's get an update as well with Ziggy and Snoot. Maynard, you had that one kind of conclude. I think it was a 2-0.
It was in Snoot's favor in the end there. So when we came to my laptop during the first break, before Kelazhur and RiSky sort of started, it was looking really good for Ziggy. He's attacked, did damage, he killed that hatchery. Then Snoot double expanded, and he came back in an economy by just taking good fight after good fight after good fight. He never lost a fight after that. Ziggy even got up to 3-1 mech, which is incredibly powerful. Snoot just kept crushing it, picking the right engagements. That's the Snoot we know and love. And then in game 2 on Catalyst, Ziggy actually went 6 racks Reaper.
Oh, okay.
To just mass Reapers against Snoot there, which is... And Snoot, I think he read him like a book. I think he's seen it once or twice before. He's played Nafi Spoonie before, James.
That's right.
And he had a pull first, and he defended very, very nicely.
So you're saying we caught the only interesting moment from that series when we hopped into that game earlier?
Yes.
Perfect.
Great job, Maynard.
Well
You're
done,
welcome.
Maynard. That's why we bring you here. I like it. I also give you an update at home as well. Billowy was unable to make it from South Korea in the 20 minutes that we allotted him before being
Wapgate didn't complete.
So we do apologize
Feels bad,
there.
man.
And he will be replaced by Aeon Blue, a German player coming into this bracket. We're going to go to a short break, ladies and gents, and when we return, more action from the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice.